Okay, let's get right into it. Brazil has one of the most powerful anti-racism laws on the entire planet, but it just got a massive, game-changing upgrade. We're going to break down exactly what happened, why it's such a big deal, and how a legal loophole that existed for decades was finally slammed shut. So, to really understand this whole story, you have to start right here, with Brazil's 1988 constitution. It uses two incredibly powerful words, non-bailable and imprescriptible. Non-bailable is pretty simple. A suspect can't just post bail and get out of jail before trial. But imprescriptible? Wow, that means the crime never, ever expires. There's no statute of limitations. It can be prosecuted forever. This set the stage for fighting racism as one of the most serious crimes imaginable. But here's where things got complicated. For decades, the legal system had this confusing and, frankly, controversial split. There wasn't just one crime of racism. Nope. There were two totally different ways a racist act could be treated by the law. And that, as you can imagine, created a huge problem. First up, you had what was officially called the crime of racism. The key thing to get here is that this was an offense against a collective, an entire group of people. Think about the example. A business owner refusing to let Black people inside. The target there isn't just one person, it's an attack on the entire community. And then, on the flip side, you had racial injury. This was treated completely differently. It was seen as an attack on a specific person's honor. So if someone shouted a racial slur directly at another individual, that wasn't legally seen as an attack on a whole group, but as an offense against that one person's dignity. This table, wow, it just lays the whole problem bare. Look at that target row, group versus individual. Okay, pretty clear. But now go all the way down to prescription. The crime of racism on the left was imprescriptible. It never expired. But racial injury, it was prescriptible. It could expire. And that created this massive loophole. If enough time passed, the perpetrator could get away with it, scot-free. A huge, huge difference in the legal code. So the bottom line was this. For years, Brazil basically had two different legal tracks. One was for racism against a group, and that was treated with the full, serious power of the Constitution. But the other track, for racism against an individual, was treated as a lesser crime, an attack on personal honor, with weaker penalties and, crucially, that statute of limitations. Okay, so that was the problem. That was the setup. Now let's get to the good part, the turning point. After years of debate and some really key Supreme Court decisions, the law itself finally caught up in 2023. This timeline really puts the whole journey into perspective. You see the powerful constitutional mandate set way back in 1988. The first law comes a year later. But look at that jump. It took all the way until 2023 for a new law to be signed that would finally fix that fundamental split we've been talking about. And this is it. This is the absolute heart of the 2023 law. It did one simple but incredibly powerful thing. It made racial injury legally equal to the crime of racism. Just like that, the loophole was officially closed. An attack on one person's dignity is now, finally, treated as what it always was, an attack on everyone. So what does that actually look like in the real world? Well, it means that using a racial slur against an individual now carries those same severe consequences from the Constitution. It is now non-bailable, it is now imprescriptible, and the potential prison sentence got a major boost, up to 2 to 5 years. The stakes are much, much higher. But wait, there's more. The new law didn't just stop at merging these two concepts. It actually expanded its reach, specifically calling out some very modern situations where racism happens and making the penalties for those even tougher. The law now clearly states that penalties get even more severe if the crime happens in certain places. For instance, at a soccer game, a concert, or any big public event. Or, and this is a big one for today, if it's spread online through social media. It also goes after racism disguised as humor or a joke, which basically takes away a classic excuse. And finally, if a public official does it, the punishment is even more severe. And remember that part about sporting or artistic events? Well, on top of prison time, the law added another specific punishment. The offender can be banned from going to any similar events or venues for 3 full years. This next part is huge for the victims themselves.
The law added this powerful new layer of protection. It now guarantees that anyone who reports a racist crime must be provided with their own legal representation, a lawyer or a public defender, through every single step of the process. This is so important because it means they never have to face the complex legal system all by themselves.
So let's put all these pieces together. We've got the history, the old legal divide, and now these massive changes. What's the ultimate takeaway? What's the bottom line on this new legislation?
I think this conclusion from a legal analysis just nails it. The law consolidated the practical equation of the two crimes. What does that mean in simple terms? It means that while legal scholars might still debate the theory, in the real world, in a courtroom, that old distinction is gone. The loophole is closed. The punishment is the same. The legal framework is now unified and stronger than it has ever been.
This landmark law is a huge victory in the fight for racial justice in Brazil. It really fulfills the promise that was made all the way back in that 1988 Constitution. But, it also leaves us with a really crucial question for the future. With the legal tools now sharper and stronger than ever, how does a society actually translate one of the world's most powerful anti-racism laws into real, tangible, everyday equality?